Welcome to the STEM Road podcast. I'm Jerry Cabrera, Elevate Southwest President and CEO, and also your host of this podcast. In each episode, we'll talk with industry experts who share their career experiences and insight, and we'll also introduce you with a student who is starting their own journey in the same or similar field, providing a fresh perspective on the future of the industry. Our mission is to uncover the diverse pathways to success in a post-secondary education and career advancement and or exploration, providing inspiration, guidance for anyone interested in STEM careers. So join us as we explore the remarkable journey to those who are paving the way to STEM. Let us elevate our mind and get on the grind. Thank you for joining us at Elevate Southwest, the STEM Road podcast. And my name is Jerry Cabrera, host, and we have Melina Conroy with Elevate Southwest. She's also a program coordinator. And we have two special guests. We have Michael Fierros, who's a cybersecurity professional here in Yuma. He'll tell us a little bit about himself and the work he does. And also we have Ulysses Villarreal, who wants to get into computer science, IT. He's still trying to figure that whole career out, and hopefully Michael can help him out and see if a career that best suits him for his needs and career aspirations that he's having at this point. And he's actually doing some drone classes with us with AI. So I hope that will help him out in terms of where he wants to go. So, Michael, tell us a little bit about yourself, your aspirations, and how you get into cybersecurity. That's a huge trend at this point.
Yeah. So I have a very unorthodox way how I got into IT and cybersecurity. So, born and raised here in Yuma, and so my grandpa, after about 25 years working in ag fields here in Yuma and Yuma County and Imperial Valley, and we're talking about 40s to early 50s. At 33, he decided to get into electronics, thinking already his age and thinking about the future. He didn't really want to work in the fields too much. So he decided to pivot his career at about 33, 34 years old, got into electronics, got his RCA certification, and around 1950-ish, 51 here in Yuma. And at that time, there wasn't really a lot of electronic technicians here. So he started working at a repair shop here in Yuma. He started working on TVs, eventually VCRs, radios, stereos, anything to require any assistance with electronic repair. He did that. My dad was born here also. Went to Yuma High, graduated AWC. My dad kind of followed suit in a way. He grew up watching my grandpa work on electronics. My dad got his degree at AWC in electronics. After that time, he got a full-time job as a print shop supervisor at AWC. So he didn't really quite use his degree. But on the side with his full-time job at AWC, he would work on computers. He went into action computers. And a computer that sparked his interest was Apple computers. At that time, the early 80s, talking about 82 to 84, Macintosh, Apple came out with their Macintosh model. And that kind of changed the personal computing world. And so my dad went into that, learned the Mac OS, started repairing computers here in Yuma. So about the 80s, 90s, and early 2000s, there weren't really a lot of people working on Mac computers here. And so I grew up in that kind of environment, watching my grandfather and my dad work on stuff, computers and electronics. My dad did have friends that worked in radio and TV here in Yuma. And so growing up in that environment, I was looking at them, what they did, watching my dad's friends on radio, TV. And so with media and electronics and technology combined, I grew up in that environment. Although I didn't take that path, I wanted to be a radio DJ with emphasis on radio broadcasting. So I took the class at KWC back then. Early 2000s was Frank Preciado was the director over there. So he was my boss for a little bit, for quite a while. Learned a lot under him. Learned the whole thing there. Was part of two media teams there, AWC. Did some agriculture media stuff too. Did some video editing. And so I went into that space right there. It wasn't really until I got older and got married where I pivoted my career and got into law enforcement. So law enforcement security. So I worked about almost 5 years at the Yuma County Sheriff's Office as a detention officer. One of the reasons, honestly, I went into that field is to make more money. Because in working in media here, at least in the early 2000s, you weren't making a lot of money, especially being single and not, barely getting married and whatnot. So went into that for a little bit. It wasn't until 4.5, 5 years into it where I was like, you know what, I want to pivot my career. I want to go into IT. Like kind of like what my dad does on the side, and my grandpa was doing electronic repair and stuff like that. So I told my boss, and I finally got a job at Coca doing help desk right there, and been working at organizations ever since. Worked at Summer to School District with you, Jerry, and yeah, and yeah. Shout out to Bob over there. He was the IT director there as well. My dad's good friend right there, and yeah, ever since then, I've been working different organizations here locally. Me and my wife did move to Texas for a little bit. Worked IT over there as well. Came back to Yuma, and currently I'm working remotely for a managed service provider named Global Mac IT. So I have a very unorthodox way into the career. You'll find that a lot in IT and the cybersecurity, where a lot of folks that get into these industries don't really have a traditional way into it. Um, so yeah, that's pretty much how I got into it.
It's been a family affair more than anything else then, huh?
Yeah, definitely. Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, wow, man, that's interesting. Yeah, I remember you telling me that yeah, your dad worked with Bob down in Somerton School District.
Yeah.
I remember
Yeah.
that. So it's kind of interesting that it's a family affair to this point.
Mhm.
So now Ulysses, you heard a little bit of Michael's, you know, plan or road, if you will, but it took a different type of unorthodox, as you said.
Yeah.
But you're still in that field. But obviously, because of certain career paths or roads, barriers that you had to go through, you're at this point now. But those things do help.
Yeah.
So as far as you, Ulysses, so how old are you, and what got you to get interested in computer science or IT?
So like right now I'm 16. So as of like what got me into wanting to learn computer science, IT, all that, right? Is it happened pretty recently. If I were to say, if you were to ask me 3 years ago what I wanted to do when I said this, I'd probably say why back then. But right now it makes a lot more sense. But as for what got me into it, I want to say more or less how big it's starting to get. I started to see how profitable and how much in demand it was getting into recently, and for the longevity of it. Um, because I know that I'm capable of achieving like the problem solving skills that you need to do in order to achieve computer science. So until recently, I thought that it was a really good idea to get into that field because what interested me was the flexibility, the longevity, and more or less I'm pretty sure the amount of time that you can be able to spend organizing yourself in that field as well. Because it does take time to learn that sort of area that I don't, I'll say art because I consider it art, computer science, because it's a man-made project over the course of, I don't know, 100 years, all that time. So I feel like it's really something that I'm looking forward to as of recently.
So, Mike, so what is it in a day of an IT person, at least at this field, at this portion that you do? So Ulysses can hear out if this is the right path, or actually you can share some of your thoughts in terms of that road.
Yeah, yeah. And Ulysses, you hit on the dot. You talked about troubleshooting, troubleshooting and figuring out things. That's probably the number one thing to have that curiosity of troubleshooting. I would say, I get people ask me all the time on social media or personally to my phone that want to pivot, and this very ranges from Ulysses,
Mhm.
age to adults or even folks older than me. So they want to pivot into a career like this, and so I would say is curiosity. Obviously, you want to have a curiosity of how things work. You want to have a curiosity of different operating systems, troubleshooting. That's really, really, really important. And another question is, how do I, what's a good entry level? I always tell folks what really helped me, and I still do it sometimes if they need help, is help desk. I would say help desk is probably the customer facing and also um, most important role in an IT team, because not only are you dealing with users on a daily basis, but you're touching each different types of technologies, whether it's in the cloud or it's on premise. That exposes to you a lot of technology all at once. Learning how to troubleshoot, learning how to deal with people when you troubleshoot, because big misconception is, IT people, well, those guys just deal with computers all day. Well, it's much more in that not only do we have to deal with the computers, but also there's a human aspect. So, if a user's have an issue with Outlook and it's taking time off the business, they're not making money. Well, if it's downtime, that's not good, because we got to help out and help those users out and whatnot. So there is a human element to it to reassure users or clients and customers that you're there to help and whatnot. But I would say help desk is probably most important. Service desk is most important, just because of the technology you get to touch on a daily basis. You get to work with other teams as well. Networking, you get work with cybersecurity, so you're working with different people as well. And
Is there are there certain certifications for help desk, or does Google and Mac and Microsoft have different type of certifications to get to help desk?
Yeah. So there's a lot of resources online when it comes to IT and cybersecurity. There's free resources online that are legitimate, and the reason why they're free is a lot of these companies, Cisco's one of them, AWC, I believe, is in partnership with Education to Go as well, which is a low cost classes you could take online. Well, I took a couple when I started getting into IT. But yeah, so there's a lot of free resources online. Specific to help desk, there are one specific to service desk help desk they could take. And then there's also vendor certifications like Microsoft you mentioned. Apple has some certifications as well. Cisco has certifications. So I would say taking maybe a course online. I know Google has some certifications too as well. You could take I think with help desk and service desk, but those would probably be the best start to learn, like give you the solid foundation for that.
Was that road long in terms of from when you started to, I mean, obviously through your different careers, but as far as certifications or degrees, how long did it take you to where you're at now?
Probably about 10 years or so, 10 plus years.
10 years.
10 years. And that's because I started later as an adult. So I got into IT in my early 30s, kind of like my grandpa, where I kind of pivot and whatnot. So I'm playing catch up with the guys that got into like Ulysses age. Like, so so a lot of the guys I work with, they're about my age or younger, but I call them old IT guys because they started about Ulysses age. And so that's the prime age you want to start, that you want to start.
Yeah.
So I'm the young guy. I was the young guy for a long time, even though I was older. So I'm learning things on the fly. So my experience is a little bit different because I pivot at an older adult age and whatnot, coming out of law enforcement. So for me, I had to grab my skill sets from different industries. Law enforcement, I grabbed my documentation skill set. Organization skills, I grabbed from my media experience. I work in radio and TV. You have to be really organized and whatnot. So I had to grab a lot of stuff from my old skill sets to apply in IT and figure out a way how to do that. And of course, mentors on the way. Your coworkers are your mentors. You try to get as much information you can from them and whatnot, and learn as much as you can.
You had a question?
I was gonna say, so taking a certification would be the better route to go through as of like where I'm standing right now, or like a degree, like a standalone college degree, like from the AWC here at the college, like the in-person
Yeah,
classes that they offer.
yeah, that's a really good question. I get this question asked a lot, and I got this asked just recently at a talk I gave to high school students too, Ulysses, and it really depends. So for me personally, not, education is great. If you're gonna do it, you should go do it. But there's depending on the industry you're in, um, certifications in IT and cybersecurity are essential. Not only just certification, but experience. Um, so I would say to get a good foundation, I would definitely recommend either online course or even better yet, because I know there's a new cybersecurity course at AWC that they just implemented. That's going to be probably a good one to take in, and then in person helps because you get to ask the teacher questions. You
Yeah.
get to learn off of each other from different students in the classroom. There may be folks, in there who have cybersecurity experience and IT experience, or they just want to pivot into cybersecurity. That's probably gonna be the best bet. I think Ulysses is doing that, especially with this new class here at AWC.
Yeah.
There's a lot of resources right there too.
Yeah, I think that would be also really good because me and my mother we've been really looking into that recently because we also seen a bunch of the courses that Google or a bunch of other people that are also on there on the court like Coursera for example.
Mm.
But we've been also looking forward into the in-person classes. So seeing that you agree with the decision of going to in-person classes more more wanting to go to in-person than certification because certification is good like you said, but going to in-person like just for me helps a little bit better because I'm able to ask questions, I'm able to also help off of others as well, and it's just that's just how I learn a little bit as well. I mean, I'm able to learn online, but like for example the drone class here, it could also help with being in person.
Mhm.
And for like I've been wanting to get into coding as well. Coding is one that is an area that I've
Nice.
been really looking
Mhm.
into because I know that I feel like that one is one that I can really learn. I know I have the power to do it because I know it's like learning a new language. Coding is just like learning a new language like Python, JavaScript, etc. So those are things I'm really looking forward to.
No, that's encouraging to hear, Ulysses. Man, like I was just telling a friend of mine how the talk I gave last week, and then just you talking to her now this day, it's encouraging
Mhm.
because when you're working in IT cybersecurity, you're doing your thing, and it's encouraging to hear younger folks say that because that gives you, for me, that gives me hope that people are going to fill our shoes
Mhm.
pretty soon here or soon, and so and that interest alone, it's really good. But yeah, no, I agree with you, Ulysses. I think in person class is going to help, especially especially you're still young.
Mhm.
That's going to set a foundation. Once you have that foundation set up, then let's say later on, for example, you get your cybersecurity degree. Let's say later on, you know what, I need to take my Security Plus from CompTIA or something like that. You could take it online because you already have that foundation. You have that work experience at that point, and so then you can start taking these online classes as you go.
And I think that's essential. I think in every area of life, I mean, I think education is an ongoing process, but especially in the tech fields, I think that especially as it's advancing so quickly, like you mentioned, years. Yeah, and I'm sure that you took it from it's taken you 10 years from where you started to where you are now, but you're still going to have to continue taking different courses and certifications. And I think that's something that we should just kind of get comfortable with. The idea is that we're never really fully masters of anything. But something I know that especially for students that are in high school or just starting their career paths in college, it's also kind of learning through some of the experience and the challenges, right? What are some, and again, challenges are going to be changing over time, especially in the tech fields. But what would you say, Michael, are some of the challenges that you face and how you overcame them? And maybe what, are some that Ulysses and other students out there can kind of be prepared for in this type of field?
Yeah, no, that's a really good question. I with my grandpa and my dad, they were the type of folks that they told me, the day you say everything is the day you stop learning. And so, like you mentioned, IT cybersecurity, one day it's the number one thing. The next day it's, wow, that's really old news. So technology is constantly evolving. So you have to get used, especially in this career, you have to get used to the mindset. I have to keep learning, no matter what age. If you're 16, if you're 65, you have to constantly learn, and it could be a challenging sometimes, right? Because life happens, and you have to roll with the punches and stuff. But that's going to be probably essential. Ulysses is keep in mind that technology advances, especially with AI right now. It's just going to keep advancing, and not only that, being around folks that know that talk IT and cybersecurity. I told some students last week, it's good to listen to some podcasts. There's certain verbiage that IT and cybersecurity professionals use, that you wanna hear it constantly, because it's going to help you as you go through your certifications, your degrees in IT and cybersecurity, and then when you start working in the workforce. By that time, once you start listening to this podcast, and I encourage listening to podcasts, even if you don't understand the verbiage, you start understanding, you start noticing different words that by the time you start working with IT and cybersecurity guys out there, you'll start picking up really quick with the verbiage. Oh wait a minute, I listened to that on the podcast over here. I listened to that before with this gentleman over here. So listening to different podcasts is definitely going to help. Following folks on Twitter who are cybersecurity professionals is going to help a lot. There's people out there that will tweet, or now it's called X, that will tweet stuff out, of attack happening. There's always attacks happening, not just the major ones. The major ones get a lot of attention, but there's also smaller attacks that are happening that don't get noticed as well. So though that's going to help you realize, wow, there's a lot of stuff going on. That's going to help you with current events and stuff like that. And then also, I encourage going to any conferences. I mentioned to the students last week that there is a cybersecurity conference called Cactus Con in Mesa, Arizona, which is every February each year. It's 2 days, Friday and Saturday. And it's any experience level. Doesn't matter what age you are. If you're in high school, junior high, or you're a seasoned veteran with 20 plus years in IT cybersecurity, doesn't really matter. It's a really good place to go to network, people with your age, or get to know other people. And I encourage those things. And there's a lot of free resources there too, if you're able to go. But yeah, I always, constantly learn, constantly network, constantly learn technologies, constantly learn from your coworkers and your professors in IT and cybersecurity and stuff like that.
So, two questions. So for the conferences that you were mentioning, what would be really good areas or places to really like see these conferences, were like over video or like in person?
So a lot of these cybersecurity and IT conferences, you could do both.
Mhm.
There's some live streams. For example, the Cactus Con, you go in person and they also live stream it at the same time. So for folks that can make it, there's free live stream. You can see it on there. You can also ask questions as well. If there's different career tracks you could take. This year was they had like a malware reconnaissance track you could take, and it's everything to do with malware. Ransomware, any malware you want to think
Okay,
of.
that's
And
good.
so those videos are streaming for free, and then also available after. The big one that everybody likes to go to is DEF CON in Vegas, which is in August or so. That's about almost a week long. That's a little more pricier, but you're talking about cybersecurity and IT professionals from all over the world going there.
Oh.
That's really, really big. It's really, really big. You can get lost in there if you and so those huge big conferences, I suggest having a game plan before you go.
Oh, okay.
Because when you get there, you're like, yeah, I want to do this, I want to do that, but definitely have a mindset what you want to do, what you want to accomplish. You want to network with people at the same time and learning stuff. And I also encourage going someone that that way you could talk about your experience and you can learn from each other during those conferences.
All right. And for my second question, I was gonna say, do you have any like personal like knowledge in terms of like the coding genre of computer science? Because as I said, I was really interested in that. So I really wanted to know like what programming languages are really good for beginners and what I should be looking forward to in terms of courses. Because if I were to go to, let's say, the cybersecurity or coding classes that AWC offers, I wanted to know what was a good area to start in.
That's a really good question. I
Because
would I would say
yeah, because from what I hear a lot too, regarding that specific question is the AI and how's that helping with the coding? Because I hear that a lot
Mhm,
in terms of how that's evolving as well.
mhm,
yeah, that AI is touching everything in IT cybersecurity, no matter what you do in those areas,
mhm,
whether you do coding, whether you do threat hunting, whether you do support, it really doesn't matter. At networking, so AI is touching everything. Specifically for coding, to be honest, I don't do coding myself,
Mhm.
but I have colleagues that do, and they use AI a lot. So, I would say, look into the resources they have, either AWC or locally here. See what classes they have. I know Python is a big one that people learn. I know when I went to college, it was C++. I'm not sure if anybody's
Oh,
still
everyone
Oh, yeah.
doing doing that. I'm not sure if anybody's doing that. That was, to be honest, that wasn't my strong suit.
Mhm.
But if you can learn coding, there's different language models out there, and you can use AI to do that. It's you're gonna have a lot of opportunities. I think, if that's what interests you. AI, I would say I would put an emphasis in AI on how coders and programmers, on how developers use AI, or how they leverage AI to do coding. Because obviously, when they develop software, not only they're involved with the developers on their own team, but they're also they have to work with the cybersecurity guys, make sure that that app is secure. They got to work with the marketing teams to make sure, hey, can we market this? Is this marketable? So there's other areas to look at, that you have to work with and stuff like that. But no, I encourage you. Yeah. I encourage you to see what kind of resources they have at AWC at their disposal. They can learn those. I know they have like foundational classes and stuff like that.
But I do go ahead.
Well, just wanted to add, I mean, but just as speaking as things are evolving, Elevate Southwest, we're also evolving, and we're always trying to like integrate new areas to also get, people involved with us. And part of, our podcast series is we now are on our social media channel. So a little plug in here for us. But if you're not following us on social media, make sure to follow us at Elevate Southwest. But we're asking our listeners to kind of ask questions. We'll post what the next topic is going to be about, and then ask them to send in their questions. And we did receive a question kind of in this area, I feel. So the question was, what are kind of the current cybersecurity and IT careers and needs right now, like in the Yuma County that you see? And again, since we've talked a lot about the future and how things are changing, what do you foresee as being kind of the next big thing? It could be in general, but also, maybe more specific to the needs of our area and community.
Question.
Yeah, that's a good question. For the first part of that question, there's a lot of need, I think, locally here in Yuma, especially when it comes to cybersecurity. Now, there have been positions I've seen both from Yuma County and the city of Yuma, that they're looking for cybersecurity, or IT analysts, which kind of like service desk, but they do other stuff as well. Um, so those so I would say IT support and cybersecurity is going to probably be the big ones here for Yuma County that I could see growing, especially among the agriculture companies. One of the students gave a good question last week, and considering that Yuma County produces, I think, what, 3 billion annually in agriculture revenue. I
Four
think
billion.
4 billion. Oh wow, so it's gone up. So it went up a billion. Wow, that's cool.
I just spoke with Tanya, and it's 4 billion.
Oh man, no, yeah. So you can see that our biggest industry is agriculture, and those companies are going to need, if they don't have any needs already, they're going to need needs people, IT and cybersecurity folks that are going to secure their networks. For example, I guess now they're doing or they're going to soon automated tractors on the fields, where they have controllers controlling the tractors remotely. I don't know when they're going to do that or how they're going to do that, but I could see that happening, and they're going to need IT professionals and cybersecurity. Make sure that the network is secured. Not only the network secured, but also make sure that technician or whoever is operating it, make sure no one is around him at that time. That's part of the food chain supply right there, and that produces crops for most, if not all, the country. And so I see that happening. What was this? I'm sorry. What was the second part of
Well,
the
it
question?
was just, the kind of the current needs and careers in IT and cybersecurity that are the most prominent. And then also, like, what do you foresee as things are changing and things are evolving in this sector, what do you see what the biggest needs would be?
Yeah. So I would say IT support, cybersecurity analysts. Cybersecurity analysts, they do all kinds of stuff. They do threat hunting, which is looking for vulnerabilities in the networks. Incident response teams, which are
But Mike, I'm gonna ask you,
no worries.
for someone like our non-IT person, who uses your social media kind of stuff more than anything else for their listeners. What is cybersecurity, and what does that mean in terms of not only the network, barriers, walls? When you think of IT security, you think of an officer or a locked door. So can you explain cybersecurity in layman's terms?
Yeah. So the big difference, you have IT, which is regular information technology, what's kind of overall broad, general industry and whatnot. So cybersecurity in general is essentially just safeguarding technology and data, safeguarding it, via network, on a computer, online. Um, uh, in layman's terms, and see, I'm trying to come up with a good layman's terms. I would just say, man, that's a good question.
But I'm
and I heard
thinking
a
like
gentleman,
you have to have keys in order to get through the door, right?
yeah,
And so if you lose that key or somebody can make that key, I'm assuming that's kind of like a hacker type of thing, that they made a key in order to get through that door, which is the
yeah,
firewall and so forth, in order to get you
mhm,
to your network. And there might be 3 or 4 doors, but they have a key, a master key that they created to go in through there. Is that
yeah.
how I'm envisioning this?
Yeah. So you have your cybersecurity teams making sure that making sure everything's secure, that no one's supposed to be looking at stuff that they're not supposed to. The ones that are supposed to can. So yeah, in layman terms, yeah, exactly. So the cybersecurity teams have the key to the doors, and they only allow certain people in, VIP people in, that they're able to see that, and they
Like
and
the
so
bouncer.
they're basically, yeah, cybersecurity teams are basically the bouncer at the club, make sure, hey, you can get in, are you in the list? Sorry, you gotta get out.
So in the 10 years that you kind of went through this change, obviously, since your grandfather obviously worked with VHS, I don't know how many people know what
Yeah,
VHS is, right? Or what was the other one, the beta ones? I can't remember the smaller
beta.
one.
The floppy disks?
Yeah, and then there was actually
Floppy
big
disks,
discs, like 12-inch discs that you use
laser
at
discs.
movies. Yeah, those ones.
Oh.
Well, that was a long time ago.
Yeah.
But for that time of frame, what made the wow that you learned? I mean, what was that? Was the AI? What did you learn that you say, man, I did not expect that one to be up and running?
I would say AI.
Okay.
Although everybody's been using AI for actually a few years, well, since probably the early to mid 2000s, with Siri and Google's Home and Alexa. So it's kind of a lighter version of AI. But I would say the last few years, AI's kind of took off a lot, especially with ChatGPT doing their language model stuff. Apple with their Apple Intelligence coming out pretty soon. Google with their own stuff. But I would say AI is probably going to be the forefront. And I will also say, AI, whatever profession you're in, you need to learn AI, especially if you work in IT and cybersecurity. Whether you're using AI and the light side, using just, having it just edit an email we're about to send out to a client or a user, or you use AI to help you scan a whole network. Companies are leveraging AI like in different ways, and being really efficient with it. So it makes our jobs a little easier. Um, but yeah, I would say recently, AI, and I would say when I was younger, probably just my dad and my grandpa just being excited for what they're doing and love what they're doing. I think that's what sparked my interest, and I kind of put off to the side a little bit when I became an adult and whatnot. But I would say those two things.
As far as AI and all these new emerging IT technologies that are popping up, in terms of the human element, how's that going to play a role? For many people, they think that AI is going to take their job and whatnot, but for the IT professional on the human element, especially starting off, how do you see that that's going to change, or actually we need more of?
I think it's going to change a lot. You're talking about the human element of AI. Um, uh, for example, this Apple Intelligence that's coming out. I could see, maybe in a few years or maybe 10 years from now, right now we're using computer monitors. I'm using a computer monitor right now to look at you guys. But with AI and with different VR goggles that different companies use, Sony's doing some, Apple has their Apple Vision goggles. Imagine being in an office space without being there and just putting the goggles on there, and then using the AI technology, typing on a keyboard, virtual keyboard, moving stuff around with your hands. That's already kind of happening. So I could see that later on. And as far as that was my concern too. When a couple of years ago, when ChatGPT came out and they just knocked down the door, and everybody else kind of followed suit with AI technology. The misconception of AI, especially in IT and cybersecurity fields, is, man, it's going to take my job. It's AI is gonna take over, and I'm just gonna sit at home for the rest of my life. But no, so that's totally opposite. The technology we use, I tell folks, the technology we use now is imperfect because it's made by imperfect people. No matter how advanced AI is, there's gonna be imperfections, and those imperfections, they need IT and cybersecurity folks to deal with those imperfections in technology. So yeah, no, I see AI being a benefit. I really don't see jobs being taken over. I just see a lot more efficiency. A lot less work to do things, more convenience. Yeah, more convenience. And also but also with that convenience also comes with responsibilities. There's the more convenience we have, the more vulnerabilities, new cybersecurity risks we have. Another thing is deepfakes. Deepfakes is really big right now.
Right.
AI, attackers are using AI to leveraging AI to get deepfakes. For example, someone made a comment the other day on a webinar I was on, with the whole, the whole Apple goggles, and Google doing anything, and Sony have their goggles too. If we're in a workspace and we put our goggles on, someone can, infiltrate that connection and make a deepfake of, me or Jerry, and it's not either one of us, and we're on vacation somewhere.
It's skinnier, Jerry.
Yeah, it's there, Jerry. Yeah, yeah. And so as positive as this technology is, and we could do it for good, there's always gonna be folks who are gonna do it for bad. People could be malicious, and so no, the IT and cybersecurity fields are wide open right now for anybody to come in and to learn and have that curiosity and troubleshooting skill sets. Because I tell folks, IT and cybersecurity is kind of like the medical field, or even law enforcement fields. They never have enough people. They never have enough people, so they always need more people and whatnot. So yeah.
No, I'm glad we touched on this, because I do feel like AI is something that is, kind of, I sort of would see the equivalent to this as to maybe, I mean, I was young when the kind of the computer era boom happened, or or internet, right?
The big box computers.
But I feel like that is our right now, this is I mean, obviously I was a little girl when that happened. I was alive, but I don't remember it vividly, but I'm sure for my parents or my grandparents, the fact when internet became a thing and the computers, I feel like that's kind of what AI, the equivalent to AI might feel for some people in our generation. And a lot of people, there's a lot of controversy. There's a lot of people that are excited about it, people that are afraid of it, nervous. I think there's valid arguments to both, to all of these different feelings that people might have towards it. But I read something recently that said something that, innovation should be seen as an opportunity, not just a threat. And I feel like that's a good way to look at AI. And so I appreciate your kind of comments and feedback on this, because it kind of eases, I feel like, sometimes the fears that some people might have towards innovation and technology. So
to me, I remember the affordability.
Oh yeah,
a computer, because they were expensive at that point.
They were.
My first computer was a compact, if you remember those.
Yep.
And I think it was spent $3,000 for it. It was I don't know, 256 meg. I mean, it was just
nice.
Oh God, it was $3,000 back then.
Yeah.
Okay, so thank you, Michael. You have any questions? Any further questions, Ulysses?
I think maybe only one.
Sure.
how would like for example cybersecurity and IT, how would that like normally work when starting out? Like I know you went over how maybe like finding a course for it, but like how would IT and cybersecurity work as like in a day of a job or stuff like that, and how does it
Yeah.
work?
Yeah. So I'll give you kind of a day in the life really quick on
Mm.
the IT help desk. So for example, when you're in a help desk or service desk position in any organization, your start of the day would you would come in, look at your email. You might have email from users asking, "Hey, Ulysses, can you troubleshoot my Outlook when you get a chance? I'm in the conference room at 5, whatever." So looking through your emails, looking through your ticket queue, because obviously, whether whatever capacity you work in IT or cybersecurity, developer, cybersecurity engineer, IT support, IT manager, director, we all have ticket queues, and so those ticket queues are really important. And so I will look at your ticket queue. You might have a new ticket to set up Jerry's new Mac that he bought, and he needs instruction. Elevate Southwest needs instruction how to use it.
Mhm.
You might have one where it's like, hey, Mike needs help setting up his iPhone. You need to go to his house and fix it, whatever, set it up and whatnot. So, looking at your ticket queues, and then when you look at your ticket queues, you do everything in priority. For example, if for example, Cindy needs a new keyboard just because her keyboard, she thinks it doesn't look right or it's not color matching,
Mhm.
versus, hey, Jerry, the owner, he needs help with his Mac ASAP. Or obviously you're gonna help Jerry first. Probably tell Cindy, hey Cindy, I'm gonna help Jerry. Since I'm done, I'll help you. So in that example, you just prioritize your day, and whatnot, and then you just start troubleshooting stuff. For example, um, now back in the days doing IT support, there wasn't a lot of stuff online, so you had to learn from other techs. Now we have so much resources online. There's documentation, portals you could use, resources you use. For one example is the company I work for right now. We have a documentation cloud portal called IT Glue, and everything documentation you need is in there. Or if it's not documented, we document it. So I would say leverage, as you're doing your tickets, leverage that information. Also, working with your colleagues, you start picking up different things, you start learning different things. And in IT and cybersecurity, no matter, and this is any industry that you work in,
Mhm.
you don't get there without other people helping you. You don't get
Yeah.
to where you're at until other people helping you. So, and you'll find, as you start doing, whether it's developing programming, those guys needed help getting to where they're at, and so you're gonna find that people are up for it to help you, because they've been there. I've been there myself. Well, I've been there myself. Like, what do I do? So I would say, in a regular day, you're learning with your colleagues. You have debriefing sometimes. For example, an IT director might say, "Hey, we have a meeting at 5 at the end of the day, just briefing on how we did our week." And so we have like team meetings and stuff like that. Conference. Sometimes we have trainings to go to, either online webinar trainings, or you might have to go train, for a Cisco product that's coming out in Vegas, and you need to go train for a couple of days there and
Uh,
learn that, and come back to the company and let people know how it went and whatnot. So that, I mean, that's basically a day of the life, of a bit. No matter what you do in IT cybersecurity, you're constantly learning, constantly looking at your ticket queues, emails. Communication is key. How to talk to people who are, like Jerry mentioned, non-IT folks that don't know that verbiage. How do you break it down like that so that where
yeah.
they can understand it? And yeah, that's pretty much it. You work as a team. You don't work as an individual. You'll
There you
find that.
go.
I mean, it's any sports, any industry, especially sports. I'm a huge basketball nerd, so I always tell folks, Kobe didn't get a ring with just him. Although some people
Yeah.
might say
He
that,
needed Shaq.
you
He
know,
needed help.
you need a Shaq, you
But he
need
could have done it
help.
by
So
himself.
he could have, yeah. He could have myself, maybe just him and Jordan, but then you need people to get you there. You
Yeah.
work as a team. You're all on the same team, and constantly learning, I would say.
As the
But yeah,
elementary
that's
school
upright.
teacher said, teamwork is a dream work. That's it right
Yeah,
there.
that's true. That's true. That's true.
And with that, we conclude our episode on cybersecurity IT. I want to thank Michael Fierros, Ulysses Villarreal, Melina, and myself with Elevate Southwest. We greatly appreciate your time, and look forward
Thank
and
you.
continue this discussion as we move along into other episodes on computer science and IT and AI, especially now that Allo is putting those antennas across the valley. So there will be more conversations in autonomous tractors and GPS. So we really appreciate your time, Michael. Thank you very
Sure,
much.
thank you.
And you know where to find us at Elevate Southwest. Anytime you want to reach out, Jerry at elevatesouthwest.org or Melina at elevatesouthwest.org. And for those folks that are looking at internships, please give us a call or email us, and we'll try to get you those internships across Yuma County. So appreciate your time, Michael.
Thank you.
Thanks,
Thank you for having me.
Michael.
Appreciate
you.
it, guys. Thank
Bye,
you.
Mike.
All right, see you. See you guys.
Bye bye.
Bye. Bye.